Have you thought about changing your Instagram handle to the Big Chun yet?
Yeah, every day I think about that.
Mm.
Anyway,
Just ain't got the guts to do it.
ain't got the guts.
Tell me we got this.
Yeah, we got it.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's. Whoa.
thank goodness.
Yeah, no kidding. I said
That's probably going to be my only zinger of the night. So
yeah. My clip, I'll ask. It'll be like, "We got the spooky cemetery part." With that,
well, yeah, you brought up. It reminded me. You brought up drinking or canceling the podcast is actually what you brought up, and I was my response
this shit
was,
sucks.
"I'm going to have to start drinking alone," and it reminded me.
Go ahead.
It reminded me
Mhm.
of I was watching. This is actually there's a lot to this story
Yep.
more than I realized.
Let's unpack this.
I was watching
I'll get ready.
videos. I was watching videos of people drinking Mad Dogs, and
Good times.
I'll explain later why. And
What's a Mad Dog?
MD 2020 actually stands for, I think, Morgan Daniels or Morgan David.
Morgan
Some-
David. It's
David.
the wine company, I
Mhm.
believe.
But everybody knows it as Mad Dog.
Mad Dog.
Mad Dog.
Mad Dog.
So I was looking it up, trying to find some info, and the videos I was finding were people drinking Mad Dogs alone, and it was really sad.
Oof.
Yeah.
Man, that's like, oof. You got to come to terms with that.
So I have a question because Alyssa is trying to make sure that I don't get credit for any of this. When do you think Mad Dog Monday became a thing?
Like, do you need a specific date?
More of a year.
Oh, I feel like it, at least to my knowledge, my history of understanding Mad Dog Monday. For anybody who doesn't know what Mad Dog Monday is, it's where we used to drink Mad Dogs in the basement of our fraternity house.
Became
but
a big thing.
became an actual a legit party night. People would come over for Mad Dog Monday on Mondays of all
On
days.
Mondays, yeah.
I don't know, what would that have been? That would have been your sophomore year.
Yes.
Yeah.
We started doing it, in the basement of the Teak House. But we used to celebrate in Jack's for
Dorm room.
dorm room.
Yeah. That's how it started.
Freshman year.
Yeah.
So it is like Alyssa is saying it's a big thing. So if you Google it, it's like a decent sized thing, and it looks like a handful of people. There's YouTube videos of people doing Mad Dog Mondays.
Mhm.
So freshman year, it was 2011, and was when we started Mad Dog Monday.
Yep.
And again, I'm not 100%
That was
sure.
12 years ago.
Ye-
Let's just let that set in for a second.
I'm going to move on and not let that set in. I feel like I'm doing therapy right now.
I feel
laying
like I'm
down.
in therapy.
For anybody not watching, Thomas,
I've decided to just lay down on the couch. The
I'm
mic
not-
moves.
we got Thomas in the frame.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure I am. Ryan's like, I'm so sick of this stupid podcast.
He's in frame.
Yeah.
So Jack is a friend, was a fraternity brother in college, and he is I don't know how to describe Jack, but he was very adamant about finding
A very excitable character.
that's a good way to put him.
In a good way. I love Jack.
Dear friend.
Mm-hmm.
He was very adamant about finding which nights of the week were which drinking nights.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we've got Tequila Tuesdays, Whiskey Wednesdays,
You got to designate.
Thirsty Thursdays. Was Friday?
Freaky Friday. Switch bodies.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, dang old Freaky Friday does.
But it's just we came down to, he's like, I don't really know what to do for Monday. And like people were recommending like, like margarita or like mimosa.
We're already doing Tequila Tuesdays. We can't Margarita Monday.
Right. And I'm like, Mad Dog Monday. And everybody's response was, what the fuck is a Mad Dog? I was like, let me tell you.
Mad Dog.
And so I guess, had already been drinking at this point. And we're like, let's go get some Mad Dogs. And we all drank Mad Dogs in Jack's dorm room freshman year on a Monday. And this was 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And Alyssa could not find proof of anything put online prior to 2011 about Mad Dog Monday.
So what we're saying is there's no discernible proof that you did not invent Mad Dog Monday.
This is true.
Wow.
I searched for quite a while.
I'm currently searching.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yet to find anything, but I'll keep you updated.
This is good.
hell yeah, yeah. Keep us
Dedicate
updated.
some time to this.
Yes. No, I legitimately searched like kind of wanting to be disproved so I could like, because like, you know, when you're like, man, I maybe invented this, but I'm not 100%.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir here on this, because I've invented, I feel like 3 different words that have all ended up on Rick and Morty or some show similar somehow, and it drives me crazy. They're stealing my material, Kevin. They're stealing my stuff.
There was one word in college that everybody used all the time that
Cannot be disproven that I didn't make it up.
the legend goes that Thomas invented the word. It was in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was that word?
Well, you had to do with all the Springfield boogans.
And what is a boogan?
Well, specifically, you know, it's just kind of you know, what's the right word to put this? It's just like the crazy people that are about Springfield downtown. You have to deal with quite a bit.
Not necessarily a townie, but
No,
like,
and it's not even like a I don't want to. It's not like a homeless person. It's just like they're just it's a specific kind of folk for sure.
yeah.
And they trance about, and they're rummagers, and they make their way.
They're for the most part harmless. Like they're kind of like, I feel like a raccoon, you know, like
It's a
they'll leave you alone for the most part, but
Exactly.
you know, you get too close, they can be a little feisty.
Yeah, man.
So-
I found one of me. I found one that had rabies one time.
Springfield Boogans.
That's right. So it all started back with my mother. I'm just kidding. In my therapy session now.
Yeah.
I feel like we produce consistent but updated content every time we do a podcast.
We haven't talked about Boogans yet.
That's right. And I have not done the therapy position yet.
Yep. And so let me play therapist for a second here.
This is good. Pour me a drink. Therapist.
This is what happens in therapy, right?
Yeah, right. Versions of it.
So first question as your therapist,
Mm-hmm.
when do you think you became the way you are?
Oh, man.
Like,
There's a lot to unpack there. I feel like this is a good transition into we got one of our first hater comments again, which is pretty funny. I want to read this actually.
So this was on.
We got one of our first hater comments again.
Yeah. Like we've only had 2.
First and again.
Yeah, I know. Listen, right. I am in therapy right now. Don't talk to me like that.
Okay.
We got a hater comment, which we've only.
Oh, I'm gonna pour some in yours.
This is the second hater comment we got, and they both have been directed at me, which I take very personally.
Laurel more so.
Yeah, Laurel. She found out about it, and she was ready to pounce. She was like trying to find this guy's IP address, trying to find out where he lived.
Really?
No, but that would be funny though. This guy, let's see. His name is FNG_lizard_king. So is that effing Lizard King? It sounds.
Probably, yeah.
I feel like the Lizard King came after me. So this was posted on our on our reel that it's me making fun of you for eating sandwiches.
Which is a post that's gotten quite a. This is the most
up to
famous I've ever been.
Yeah, it's up to like 4,500 likes or something like that.
Over 20,000 views.
Which is crazy. And I'm making fun of Kevin throughout this reel. And effing Lizard King comments on there, says the chubby dipshit talking to the cut Michelangelo. First off, Kevin's not even a turtle, so
I don't see the problem with this
you're
guy.
wrong. Shut up, Kevin. So I decided to let him know really lay it on him. I said, "Effing Lizard King, I'm way chubbier and way more of a dipshit than you'll ever know."
Great response.
Yeah, I feel good about it. He then Laurel, my loving girlfriend, who would scratch this man's eyes out in real life, commented as well. And then he went heavy. He went big.
He did.
Yeah, he went big. We'll also comment some of this. So Laurel said started talking about being a guy who hides behind a computer screen, right? And he says, yeah, Laurel, because I'm not an arrogant prick that gets behind a microphone and submits my idiotic thoughts on a social media site in an attempt to make myself important and not a total loser. And then he decided to say some bad words. But he spelled because wrong. So I corrected that and he deleted the whole comment. You can't insult somebody and misspell it. You fool. That's rule 1.
R.I.P.
Yeah, he deleted literally the whole comment because he spelled because like BECO.
Yo, yeah.
You fool! I win.
I think I saw a hater towards me on that post.
Somebody said you had a bad relationship with food. And
Yeah.
I send that guy money. He's right. This is the second time. So I've been called a chubby dipshit who gets behind this so that I can not feel like an idiot or whatever, which is totally true. Honestly, like this is exactly why I do this. I want you all to hear my bullshit. And yeah, and then the other guy said that I was wearing leggings and Jesus sandals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was like women's leggings.
Yeah, women's leggings and Jesus sandals. Wow, excuse me. And a shirt that was too tight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in retaliation to this, went and caught a workout right before I got here. Yeah. Is it chubby enough for you, dipshit?
You were wearing a hoodie in that episode too.
Yeah.
Like a real baggy hoodie.
Yeah. You see this?
Yeah.
Cheers.
And we're drinking. It's either, I think it's Docket, could be Ducket. Looks like it's spelled Ducket, but I think it's pronounced Docket. Rum. There's apparently a cool story behind this, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So if you think we're just spewing idiotic stuff, listen to this, Mister.
I'll be honest, when I
Fucking
don't.
Lizard King.
That's my burner account.
Would be. You got the lizard leg.
I do got the lizard leg.
You son of a bitch.
I am peeling like I'm cold blooded right now.
That's right.
Yeah, Docket rum. We've got a few. These were donated by Sean, and very much appreciate it. He said, I think someone else would be able to enjoy these, and we definitely will. Did you try it?
I did. It's good. Especially for a non-aged rum, it's tasty. We've got 3.
Mm-hmm.
Did they say the years on them or time? Obviously, that one's not aged. Then
Yeah, we're starting. Yeah, non-aged. We also have Docket Golden Rum. Oh yeah, so Franklin County, Missouri.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Shout out to the Show Me State.
yeah. This one,
It's obviously aged, but it might not say how long.
yeah, aged rum, but
Yeah,
we are not sure how long.
it's typically not that long. Like it's not anything crazy. It's not like when you do.
Yeah, like tequila's what, like 6 months to a year.
Yeah, typically it's nothing crazy. They might not say, which would be fine.
Yeah.
I guess. 100 proof rum's though pretty strong. The
Yeah,
other
that's
one's
a pretty strong one.
What's that one? Is that what? It was probably
This is 50% alcohol. So
100 proof.
yeah, that
They're all 100
non-aged
proof.
100 proof.
That's pretty good.
This last one's 103.
Nice for being just like a white rum, and being 100 proof. It's very tasty.
Yeah.
I'm excited to try the other ones, but this is tasty.
I feel like that was the right order of things, like non-aged into Yeah.
Work away in. Going the other way, diluting down the sweetness sometimes can kind of not be the route to go, I don't think.
I feel like, yeah, you appreciate them. Like I would want them to get like smoother, especially because like we're just drinking them with ice.
Right.
They'll get better. Like maybe with a mixed drink, it would make more sense to maybe go the opposite way.
But you see
like,
how like even at 100 proof and everything, it's very smooth.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't notice that before I poured them. So we go a little lighter on the pour in the next two.
I hope to get more of these comments. I think they're funny. Laurel gets very offended by them, like genuinely. Like she'll call me and be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Babe, I do not care." Like I promise. Like I have made myself much more of an idiot than I have ever on this podcast, like publicly in front of many people. I have no problem with this. Kevin, let me ask you a question. What is the time in your life that you felt like you made yourself like the most public, like most idiotic publicly? And if you need time to think, I've got my story.
I've got one of the most recent ones was I took a gym selfie showing not my actual ass, but like sticking out my butt, give the duck lips, because I posted my first gym selfie ever, and I was like, "Hey, first gym selfie, never done this before."
Yeah,
and everybody's like, "Oh, you need to twist your hips. Oh, you need to give the duck lips," and it's like just kind of funny comments.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah,
and that was one of, I think Andy Frisella liked that post. So
that's awesome.
He did.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's one of the most recent ones. Most recent that I've been an idiot publicly.
Yeah. You want me to go? You could just keep going if you want. You just tell more stories. Your
turn. You go, I'll go.
Yeah. This is good. This is really good this is therapy now. It's really good to get these out in the open.
You tell yours and then I'll try and one up you.
Yeah. So
this could get good really quick.
Yeah. And I feel good about it. This was a sophomore year of high school church camp, right? So it was Young Life Camp specifically. We were in North Carolina. And for whatever reason, I had been obsessed with the song Bust a Move. And so I had been singing it like in the cabin, it's like all bunks, and there was like 8 bunks, and it's like the middle of the night, and I'm singing it, right? And just being a butt about it. But like for whatever reason, it was stuck in my head like crazy, and I knew all the words. And so I would just sing it. I would just bust a move and just start singing it. You know what I mean? And so there's quite a few people that go to Young Life Camp. Like hundreds of kids will be at one camp at a time. And at some points, you get into this like big auditorium, and you're all kind of sitting in there, and the guy's playing music, and he's a really talented musician. And then they would pass around like a big bucket, like a 5-gallon bucket, and you could throw in song requests in there, and he would just like play it on his guitar, right? And so I, of course, write down "Bust a Move" and throw it in there. Bucket gets back up to him. He starts pulling some songs out. So he starts singing. He starts whatever. And he pulls out a piece of paper, and he starts like kind of trying to play. And he's like, "How's this song go?" And he's like, "It's Bust a Move. Who knows the words?" And so everybody at this damn camp points at me, right, all at one time, and they like shine the spotlight on me. There's like I'm not exaggerating, I might be a little bit, but like there's like 1,000 kids. Like it's a big thing. And he's like, "Come on down here." And so they make me get on stage with the microphone. He starts playing the music like on his guitar, and has me sing "Bust a Move" to all 1,000 kids.
And that's the moment you became the way you are.
And funny enough, I wasn't an idiot. I wasn't a dipshit. I sang it perfectly. It was wonderful. This is my shining achievement. I just wanted to brag about it. I killed it. Yeah, it was. Except there are some sexually expletive things in that song. And so at one point, I wasn't thinking. That's just, I was in the zone.
Yeah.
The lights come down. The mic's in your hand. Your adrenaline's up. It's just you by yourself, essentially, at that point. And you're just You're just busting a move.
Mm.
And yeah, I said some sex words, and they were like, "Whoa, that's enough! All right, everybody." So
I
not embarrassing. I'm super cool.
killed it. Yeah, I'm trying to think. In college, I used to do, because we used to do themed parties. Those were always a lot of fun.
Mm.
And so, whatever the theme was, tennis bros and golf hoes.
Classic.
Um,
I remember them getting so mad at us when it was like joggers and loggers or whatever. It was supposed to be like lumberjacks and like jogger girls, like, or whatever, right? This is before joggers, that clothing item, were a thing. We're aging ourselves here, but they I remember them getting like so mad because like I showed up as a runner and not a lumberjack. And like, the guys are supposed to be lumberjacks.
That's
Guys,
hilarious.
what the fuck do you care?
This is funny.
Yeah, it's so stupid. I should have been like short shorts and like a tank top.
So
and,
that's
like,
my thing.
sweatpants.
You'd always, you go to the thrift store, you find some clothes for the, because you don't want to spend like $100 on an outfit you're gonna wear one time. You go to the thrift store and find some funny stuff.
Right.
You always find some golden pieces there. Ryan's a big thrift store guy, we know. But we, I slowly started getting to the point where it was just like whatever I was going as was just like find the shortest shorts possible.
Yeah.
Like it's gym bros and something I can't remember, and I short gym shorts.
Perfect.
Hawaiian night, I found some Speedos or a Speedo.
Yep.
And put that on, and
I think we have pictures of you and I from Hawaiian night in short shorts.
probably
We could post that.
Yeah, if you get them to me, I'll lay them over the video.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm in.
they're probably still out there on Facebook.
I'm sure.
Yeah. This is why we run our own company, because if anybody checks our Facebook, we're not getting hired.
For sure. Neither of us are running for president.
Yeah, they dig up some funny stuff.
Yeah, they'd be like, Thomas, we'd love to have you for public office, but a video surfaced of you singing sex words at church camp, so can't let you in. Sorry. Dang. Otherwise, I'd be running for governor right now.
I've been saying that.
What do you think, Ryan? You on my side?
Sure, why not?
Nah, that's what I'm talking about.
Dude, I did have
I was
to.
surprised by that response. I thought he was going to shoot me down.
I think you've got a campaign slogan you've used before.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Hell, I will think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to give a speech recently. Another embarrassing moment for me. I won an award. So.
Oh, that one up there?
One of those up there.
Weird.
But I wasn't really sure I've never been to this event before, so I wasn't really sure like the rundown and everything. So I even asked like, hey, like, do I need to give a speech or anything for this? And they told me no. Get there, sitting, eating dinner, start to get to the category I was nominated for, and they're like, all right, and the winners will come up here and just give a quick minute or two speech.
Love that.
Okay, all right,
Love that.
Let's go.
You're not in your when it comes to you in public speaking, like we have to do more public speaking than I think people would expect for this job. Like at least a number of times a year, I'm up in front of and talking to people.
For sure.
And there's two camps. There's like the outline camp and the like shoot from the hip camp. And it's like, and you're an outline guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta have bullet points. I have shot from the hip before. If I've given a similar speech before, I can I can get it. Like if I get my repetitions down, I'm good.
Yeah.
But if it's like, hey, I'm giving a speech that I really haven't given before, I gotta have some bullet points. So I was like eating dinner, like, okay, what am I gonna say? Like bullet point. Luckily, I had enough time.
Yeah, like writing on a napkin.
Yeah, I feel like I gave a pretty good one.
Nice.
So yeah, I did. Gave it in front of the mayor and everything.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Mayor Holt.
Yep.
Dang.
Yep.
Incredible.
He was there, shook my hand, got up there,
Whew.
and I said, I can't remember the guy's name, but I endorsed the guy running against him. Just kidding.
Alyssa, don't let Alyssa hear that. She's a Holt fan.
She's a big Maya fan.
Yeah. Maya Holt.
She's got a picture of him like talking to somebody like with his back to Alyssa. And Alyssa took a selfie like it's the Maya.
Yeah. With his butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
I think she even tagged him in.
I mean,
She goes,
the guy knows his strong points, you know?
this is true. He was up there talking a lot of the night. He's a good public speaker. He's very likable.
I feel like that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
You know who was petrified to get up and talk publicly?
Will.
Yep. Yeah. And I love to make him think that he's going to have to do it.
It's easy to guess who you're talking about these days because you're only around two people.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Will and Laurel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am crumbling from the inside. Will's going to like that. Will always tells me all the things he thinks is funny from the podcast. He'll be like, bro, when you said you were crumbling from the inside, oh, man, that was so funny. Dude, you killed me.
He's going to love this.
Yeah, oh, yeah. He has been a big fan. He still loves that when I made that impression of him being like, work was good, but there was a bug, but it was a big bug, but the bug was outside. He's like, dude, he can't get over that. Apparently, a lot of people, like, when they watch the podcast episode and that comes up, they all, like, reference it to him. And so he thinks it's funny. But yeah, we have typically why we have to publicly speak is we'll do, like, nutrition seminars, like, stuff like that pops up, like, more often than you think, you know, especially with, like, the knowledge base and stuff and the training that we have. It becomes, you know,
dude, our company meetings have turned into a public speech every week.
Seriously.
Not quite, but he's
hey, man,
talking in front of a dozen people.
Yeah, literally 12 people there on a regular basis. But like, you know, it becomes really advantageous for us to be able to give, because we give nutrition seminars, we don't charge for anything like that. And so we go and we can help gyms doing challenges or just people needing like a, you know, something to bring people there, or like just good nutrition information. Like it's a cool asset for gyms to be able to use us for free to be able to do that. And so
good plug too. If you guys are wanting a nutrition seminar,
seriously,
we will come out and do it for free. We can cover just food. We can cover supplements.
Yeah.
Do it for free.
Do it all the time. Yeah. And so it's a super cool thing, and it doesn't take long. And like, we always like go through questions, but anyway, we had one, that we were doing with, Fit Camp 180 in Yukon. It's an awesome gym there, but they had us out, and we've done a couple out there, different seminars and different things, but at different gyms in Yukon. But we went and did one over there, and Will just asked me probably 5 times, like leading up to it, on like who was going to go and do it. And I'm like, Will, you are, like, I hope you're ready. Like, it's going to be you, man. You're going to go and get the microphone on and get in front of 80 people and talk about nutrition. Give the whole lowdown.
Dude, I was in college. I was terrible at public speaking. I was, and it was like you were having to pick like topics over like certain like political debates or like
stuff you don't want to talk about.
Yeah, it's like stuff I just wasn't generally interested in. The last one, you gave 3 speeches throughout the semester. And the last one was you get to pick whatever topic you wanted. Nice. And I got to pick, it was something related to like hunting. It was like hunting laws and,
it's incredible how much easier it is when it's something you like talking about.
I killed that one. Yeah. Like I was, just because I was interested in it. But generally the job has made me better at exponentially better at public speaking, because I've been kind of forced into those scenarios where it's gotten easier and easier, where now I can get up in front of a few hundred people and it's like, okay, like maybe a little nerves, but I got my outline. I'm good. No. So yeah, I used to get nervous in front of a class of like 20 people total.
See, I had the benefit of getting in front of 1,000 people and singing the classic "Bust a Move." Haven't been nervous since.
Rip the Band-Aid.
That's right. Just go straight to my first concert.
Again, what?
Just never done this before. Time for a concert.
Any encores?
They shooed me off stage pretty quick. I think I heard people chanting for it, like "Oh, more Thomas."
You get that classic cane that came out from the side of the curtain.
Encore. You know, like I heard a lot of that. Like, you know, like throw us your shirt and like real inappropriate stuff. But we moved on.
Yeah.
Then next year they invited me back. They kicked out that musician and they were like, Thomas, we're ready for you.
Just sing Bust a Move 3 times.
3 times a night for the next 4 weeks. So die. Anyway, moving on.
Maybe I am.
Maybe I am a dipshit. Maybe this guy's onto something. Maybe the Lizard King knows what he's talking about.
You know, I was going to get on there and defend you, but I just could not find the words.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, it is really interesting on looking like Kaylin too. Like I know Kaylin, not to say Kaylin was ever bad at it or anything, but like I know that she has gotten to a point where, especially working with like True Grit and different things that we do where we have to get up and speak, especially in front of a lot of people, that she's really progressed to the point where like she's doing that on her own and she can go and do it and does a good job. I know I believe Alex went to SRT down in Norman and gave a nutrition seminar recently.
He did that over FaceTime, I think, or Facebook Live.
Oh, that's cool.
He did it from his house, and he had like the tent backdrop to him, so that people could tune in on Facebook. And sounds like it went well.
That's
Talked to him
cool.
today. Yeah.
Wow. Didn't know that. There you go.
Kaylin's a really funny one. So she's done awesome with True Grit.
Mm-hmm.
She joined me when I was still in charge of the challenge. So her first time, like when she was first hired, our first time we were helping with True Grit Challenge after that, she came along, worked the table because she had a lot of interest in helping in that area. And it was around the same time where we were opening up Norman. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this anymore. Like I'm going to need someone to kind of step in and kind of take over a little bit. So she worked the table. I did the speech, worked together the whole day. And I looked at their end and I was like, hey, you ready to give that speech next time? And she's like, and she gave the speech next time and killed it.
Nice.
She is one though. Ryan will know this because she likes to be in videos, but I think she stresses a lot about it. So we'll tell her like the day before, like, hey, you mind filming a video tomorrow just so you're prepared? Like if you want to do your hair, or, you know, you got to give girls a heads up on, hey, we're going to take your picture, put you in a video tomorrow. You okay with that? So they can prepare.
Same with Noah. You got to give him some heads up so he can
do his mullet.
Yeah. He's got to do his hair. He's got to, he's got to shave.
Yeah.
Make sure he's clean shaven.
Yeah. Yep. But she will stress every second for the next 24 hours and film the video first try and kill it.
Yeah.
It's over.
Why are you so stressed?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's something to it though. Maybe it would take her more tries if she didn't stress for 24 hours.
Method to the madness. Makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've learned to like public speaking quite a bit, especially because I get to talk about stuff I like and have gotten more comfortable with it. So, but I am not naturally very good at it. You are one that like you do better if you just don't have any guidelines, no outline.
I'm a shoot from the hip kind of guy. Like I typically I've done enough of them where like I feel like I have, maybe it's less of like shooting from the hip and more of just like I know most of I can work with a very minimal outline and kind of just like traverse the path that I need to. But yeah, I don't know. It's never really bothered me. I don't know why, but it's just something I've been blessed in that sense that it doesn't bother me. But yeah, I can have like a minimal, like literally my outline for the last like nutrition seminar I get was my outline in my head was like, okay, I'm gonna talk about protein first, and I'll talk about carbs, and I'll talk about fats. Okay.
Then we'll ask if anybody has any questions.
Right. And then I'm up there ended up talking for like 45 minutes and then went through a whole like Q&A and answered all the questions. And great. Like, I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't need much for it. But I think that's like a lot of the secret is that is education. And I give a nutrition seminar like that 5 times a week inside the store.
Yeah.
I'm just projecting it louder to more people.
You're covering it as a whole, not just little parts of it.
Well, even in the store, because like, so that's something that we have been struggling with, to be honest, a little bit in Yukon, is that we were very blessed in the sense that our Yukon store, by all accounts, is taken off compared to what our expectations were. Our Yukon store has been very busy and killing it, and we're super blessed, and we love the community that we've become a part of out there, and it's been massive for us. It's been super, super cool. But the struggle that comes along with it is we have a typical like in a typical lifespan of a Triad customer, everyone goes through the same basic steps as they kind of go, where the first time they come in, totally understandable. They are not overly trusting, which I do not blame them. If you've been into a supplement store, not named Triad, not to toot our own horn, but it can be rough, right? It's not the experience. We hated the experience so much that we wanted to change it, right? And so, I feel confident in saying that it's a pretty poor experience. The standard is not super high, especially for not just the fitness industry, but specifically supplementation.
There's good ones out there, but they're the outliers.
Yeah, few and far between, for sure. And even the good ones, like they're all like there's plenty of good ones, and then there's ones that pretend to be good, and then there's just bad ones that don't even pretend to be good.
There was so much room for potential. If there wasn't that, we probably wouldn't be here. We probably wouldn't have wanted to go down this road in the first place.
Which is great for us. I'm happy to be the pioneers on it. Like,
For sure.
let's go.
For sure.
But in the typical lifespan of, like the crawling, walking, running of like a typical Triad customer is, your first experience is kind of just coming in and feeling it out. And we totally understand. And we try to help you to our best ability. And then the next few times you start gaining more trust, which is like, you understand that we're harmless. We're not scary. It's not a scary place to come into. It's a place that you hopefully want to even come to and hang out. And as time goes, we start to educate people more and more. And we go through little mini seminars. I do them very frequently, especially out at our newest location, where we have a lot of customers who are just getting a grasp of supplementation and the correct way to do things, and maybe some nutrition help or whatever. And as they traverse past that crawling stage, they kind of get into a walking stage where they've got a basic understanding. They can kind of go around the store and pick out and find good products pretty much for themselves. They know what brands they like. Cool. Then you get to the like running stage where it's like, and I'm really proud, and I know everybody here is too, of that. Like our average customer that has shopped with us for longer than like, especially like 2 years plus, is probably more knowledgeable supplementation wise than most employees at customer stores, supplement stores across the country. Like our average customer that has shopped with us for 2 years is more educated on supplementation than most employees of supplement stores are across the country. Like they are wildly knowledgeable.
We've gotten compliments quite a bit from vendors of having a very knowledgeable customer base.
Right.
And it's because we take the approach of, we're not here to sell you something. We're going to educate you. We're going to simplify things a little bit, give you a few options within there. And then you get to make the choice based off of like the knowledge that you just got and your opinions and what will work best for you.
Right. And so, when we're having an event, Sample Triad or grand opening or whatever, and, it's really cool when we have vendors or, reps for their first time out, and somebody walks up to them and they're like, hey, I really like Formula One because it's low temperature processed protein. And I use my iSlip post workout with some kind of like simple carb. And I really like that all your pre-workouts are full disclosure, and I'm making sure I'm getting 5 grams of creatine monohydrate in them. And it's just really worked well for me. And then I use this blended protein before bed and throughout the day as a snack. And I just feel really successful. And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, dude, they know what's up, and they know the brands they like, and they can come in, and those customers are great because those are just friends now, right? Like it's great to see them, but it's great to see them if they weren't buying anything. They've shopped with us long enough that like they're listening to this. You know what I mean? They're friends more than they are anything. And so those customers are awesome. But I also love the new customers. That's a big reason why I really enjoy going and like being the person that opens our new locations, is I get to kind of spend the time with the new customers, getting them through their education part of supplementation, where it's like, hey, if you're going to shop with us, this is, the educational path you're going to go down is like, here's your syllabus, and we'll get you started. Yeah. And so it is cool because those customers who've shopped with us for a while, they're like, yeah, they grab this and they grab that. And they're like, oh, I'm doing InBody. And they're like, I know how to do it. And you're like, yeah, you're a rock star.
No, it's a big difference between the customers at Quail Springs, where we've been open for 7 years, and the customers in Yukon, where we've been open for 2 months.
Right.
We see, the funny thing is, man, I think we see about the same amount of new customers, but it takes up a same actual number, but it takes up a much higher percentage in Yukon than it does Quail. Quail's got 2 to 3 people on shift at all times. So you can kind of they're just like one every, 5 or 10 that are coming in that are brand new, where Yukon's like every other. Right. So it's the average if you took the average like amount of time spent with each customer that came in that day,
Mhm.
Yukon's is probably double or triple
Right.
what Quail's is, because Quail is, you've been shopping here for 3 years.
You know
and
what you're doing.
We've educated you. We've got you. We've started like recommended products. We've
Right.
even gone through a couple of trials, some couple of changes. You found what works
Right.
for you. You're just restocking, or
Right.
even going, trying out, something else that we recommended that's similar. You already understand. You already
Right.
trust us. So yeah, it is quite a bit different experience at a store that's been around and established to a brand new store.
Right.
So,
Well, yeah, you have those customers that essentially they've got their triad degree, right? Like,
Yeah.
here's your triad degree. Like, you're good. You're self-sufficient, and I'm talking to you about pretty much anything but supplements most of the time at that
Yeah.
point with those established people, and that's super cool. And that typically works with a natural progression of a store. As the store is less busy when we first open, we have more time to be able to spend with these customers. We get to have the 30 minutes. So sometimes I've had interactions last well past 2 hours before
Yeah.
of just like helping, going through, diving into knowledge, like all sorts of things. And it's a really cool thing for us because that's where we build such strong relationships with people. It's the people I build from the relationship from day one and then kind of watch them grow on their journey. It's such a cool thing for me because like, we even have a couple of people now, but it's like, I've been working with you for 2 years. I wrote a diet. I've written 3 diets I've written 3 diets for you. I've helped you in this. I've helped you in that.
Yeah.
We've gone through a bulking and a fat loss or like whatever. Like we've done a lot of different things.
I feel like John Mathers is a really good one, because I can remember the first time that he came in. I think he had just moved to town.
Yeah.
And came in, and he'd been working out and taking supplements for years,
Yeah.
probably longer than I have.
Yeah.
So he came in and kind of knew what he wanted, and there was like maybe something that we had that he knew he wanted, but something that we didn't have. It's like, hey, we'll look into it, man. We'll bring it in. Like, let me get your contact so we can like let you know if we bring it in. In the meantime, man, here's some samples of some other stuff
Sure.
that's similar. Try it out. But was like, he knew. And it's like those types of people, like when you go in, especially if you're used to going at other supplement stores where they are trying to sell something,
Mhm.
it's it's natural to be a little standoffish. I can be that way when I walk into that type of environment.
1,000%. Yeah.
And he's brand new. He doesn't know that we're different.
No reason to trust us.
Where after over time, John has become one that like we invited him to the last whiskey cigar night. Came
Right.
over and like he was just
Right,
hanging
just
out,
friends.
man, because we were legitimately friends. And like,
Right.
dude, he comes in and like takes our recommendations. Like, we'll just hang out and talk, man.
Right.
Like, I love seeing John every time that he's in. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And like I was saying, like that typically works along the progression of a new store. Like when we have the time, it's, typically when we're newest. And so we can take the most time then. The thing that has been a little bit interesting so far, we jump into that one.
I was going to ask, do you want to do Docket Rum 103 or Docket Golden Rum? These are spelled RHUM.
Well, maybe
Rum. Oh, rum. Golden rum.
Oh,
Yep.
the rum.
Docket Golden rum.
I got the rums. Let's do the 103 because I don't know if I'm going to want to have 3 tonight. But the
I'll just do a little splash of each
yeah, that's fine.
at the same time, right?
Yeah,
Just kidding.
mix them. you chubby dipshit. You can give me a little more than that.
Like that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool.
But the interesting thing that we've dealt with, and I say dealt with as it's a negative thing, it's not a negative thing, it's a very positive thing. But the interesting thing that we have been tackling so far with our Yukon location is that we are much busier than we are accustomed to being this point in the lifespan of a store.
Yeah.
So we are doing, what we would typically see sales wise in like, I don't know, like compared to Norman, which is the best way to kind of compare it because obviously nobody knew us at all this time at Quail, but it's like, we're 2 months in and we're looking at numbers that took us
2 years.
2 years in Norman. And so it's a really interesting dynamic of like I had a situation the other day and luckily I was very blessed to have a little bit of help. And we normally traverse it well 99% of the time, but I've got 6 people in the store. 2 of them know us and they're kind of self-sufficient, and that's great. And I love them. I've got one person who's, brand new, and I've got 2 people or 3 people or whatever that need 25 to 30 minutes of help.
Yeah.
And so we had a situation the other night. It was funny, but I was on shift by myself, and while on shift by myself, Will is like writing a diet for somebody, and Dane Chrislip, who's a Define ambassador and my roommate, is literally grabbing things from the back as we're shouting them out to him. And so
He's the best.
he is. He's such a does not surprise me in the least that he's just jumping in to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's such a Dane move.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. But very interesting dynamic, because I got to thinking about this the other day, and I feel like we've done a good job. I think we've held up our part of the bargain when it comes to growing UConn and doing the things that we need to be doing for that. I think we also have the blessing of Triad just being a better known thing. People know who we are. People have seen the shirts. People have understood. We had a decent customer base that already lived in UConn. Like, we have a lot of these things. But my question that I think that I'm proposing to you, and something that will be very interesting, and I want your thoughts on just personally and for the podcast, is like, at what point will we have to open a store and have overlaps ready to go?
Dude, potentially next one. I mean, depends on where it is.
Sure.
But potentially next, like we're already in like putting some temporary things in place to like legitimately within like a matter of weeks, we're gonna have some temporary stuff, temporary overlaps
to
in
alleviate
there to alleviate before we can get a little bit more permanent solution there. So, but yeah, we are already moving forward at 2 months in,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
super. I mean, thank you everybody who's made this possible.
Yeah. So. This is kind of an interesting one. I think I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast before, but the difference between opening Norman and UConn is kind of interesting, because with Norman, we did very little research on our potential cannibalism of the first store with opening Norman, because it is 45 minutes away. And we had a small little pocket of customers down in Norman, which made it like possible to get down there and have a little bit of traction to begin with.
Yep.
But for the vast majority of the population in Norman didn't know about us. It's a long trip. So getting down there, we've got people that grew up in Edmond that moved down to Norman to go to school, that sort of thing. We've got some people that found out about us because of friends, because they're up in the city or working out, whatnot. But
Jamie Essery just driving all the way to see us.
Yeah, he was asking about a Norman location probably a year or two before we opened that up. But yeah, it was we went down there with like really zero hesitation that we were going to like cannibalize the Quail Springs first location, because we were so far away. And that made a lot of sense, because the position we were in of like, man, we're supporting ourselves with this entire store. Like, this is where all of our income comes from. We don't want to mess with that. We'd rather struggle a little bit on a new one, as opposed to pulling from this and then just being a mess, like sort of thing. So it was more of a risky situation. With UConn being the third location, we're like a little bit more comfortable. Quail has continued to grow at the same pace. Even when you look at adding Norman in, it grew at the same pace. It was not hindered a noticeable amount at all. So, but with opening UConn, it's like, that's like a 20-minute drive.
Yeah,
and we
much closer.
get a decent amount of people from UConn. So we ran all kinds of metrics of, what's our customer base? Like, how many customers do we have out of there? What percentage of our customers are not just in UConn, but closer to UConn than Quail Springs? What's their, how much money is being spent out there at Triad compared to all other areas? How much is this going to pull? And we anticipated that it would pull, I can't remember the percentage. I'll throw a dollar amount out there. Like, we've been kind of like conservative about putting dollar amounts out there. This one I think is okay. But we anticipated it pulling about $20,000 from Quail Springs, which Quail Springs can afford to lose $20,000 in sales. it is a noticeable amount, but not by any means didn't have to change.
Right.
But Quail Springs, even after we opened Norman, has again continued to grow over the years. And I haven't checked numbers. Since we opened up Yukon, we have been doing at least as busy as we did the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't essentially lost that 20K that we thought, but it might have hindered our growth this year a little bit. So
Right. Like we would be doing what we're doing now plus some. But then there's also the dynamic too to think about is the people, especially that live between the two locations, between Yukon and Quail Springs, and this is how people just work. It's part of the human dynamic. Is just like, oh, they opened another location in Yukon. I really do need to go check them out. And whether that's going to the Quail Springs location or the Yukon location, it's just like the understanding that, oh, this company is growing or whatever. They've got another location. Maybe they just, man, I really do need to go check them out. There's a reason you get you understand, like I should go do that.
The hype of a new location, if you look, it's almost like it vouches for you a little bit.
1000%.
They're doing well enough to open up a new location. The only way they're doing well enough is if they are a good place to shop. It shows that people are shopping with them if they're opening new locations.
Right.
So we noticed that in Norman. We saw almost an uptick right when we started talking about a new location. So
well, and one of the things that we get a decent amount right now that I hear going in both directions is like, oh man, I told my buddy about you guys. Somebody that shops with us at Yukon told my buddy about you guys, and he lives right over by your Quail Springs location, so he's going up there, and he says it's awesome. Or vice versa. It's like, I got a buddy, he shops at your Quail Springs location or your Norman, and he told me they just opened one up right by me, so I wanted to come check you guys out. And it's like, that kind of like expansion can add to that growth thing. Yeah. So that's super interesting.
No, if you look at like obviously that's a big aspect, but like just being more convenient. So one aspect that you talked about, and I even actually checked it. I can't remember numbers exactly off the top of my head, but frequency. Like, okay, if you have 90% of your customers are in areas that are closer to the Quail Springs store than a Yukon store, and you have 10% out here, and then you compare that to dollar amounts, it was like 95% of our dollars come from here, and only 5% of our dollars, even though 10% of our customers are here. So they were shopping less frequently because they were further away. So and this is one I haven't run yet because again, we're still collecting data and getting to January and whatnot.
We're still only 2 months in. Right.
There's not a ton of data to run yet.
Literally.
So, day to day looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
But, if you were to look at, and I'm confident when I say this, but even though I haven't run numbers, is we have grown. If you take the combined two stores, Quail Springs and Yukon, if you combine the sales from those, we've seen exponential growth, more like probably double the amount of growth we've ever seen from one year to the next. Right. So it shows it was beneficial. So.
Yeah, that 10% that was only, that was getting the 5% of dollars or whatever, that like, hey, I maybe come to you guys once every 2 months because I'm never up in Edmond. There's no reason for me to be there. That happened to me in a situation to kind of draw a parallel was like, go to Norman, some of my best friends. I ordered a shirt from them, and I swear to you, it took me 4 months to go and get it. Like I got a shirt, like the whole deal. They did like a pizza delivery boy shirt. Super cool.
Those were super cool.
Super cool.
Zeth that designed that? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Zeth like finally like texted me, and he was like, hey, dingus, like, you ever gonna come get this? And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. Like I literally,
you chubby dipshit.
Yeah. Like I literally have no reason. And so I was like, I happen to have the day off that day, and I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna spend the day in Norman. So I went down to Norman, hung out at Coda Norman for a while, went and kind of work out at Crunch, like hung out at the store for a while, just did stuff.
Didn't have a reason to be down there otherwise though.
Right. Yeah. And so that's the thing is like I can understand why a customer who lived in Yukon didn't make it up to Edmond on a regular basis. And so like, why would you come? Maybe they come once every 2 months or something.
Right.
But you went from being, 25, store to store, but it's like, they might live in Mustang or something. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at typically a minimum of like 25 minute drive. Well, now I'm 4. Yeah. And it's like, now that I'm 4 and you've built by coming in more frequently, you built a more personal relationship with myself, Will, or Kaylin, or all of us. And now it's like, now we become somewhere that you want to stop frequently, whether it's just for a bar, a drink, or just to shoot the shit or whatever, just to talk. Like, and so you start to see where those like frequency numbers can really make a big difference, just in general.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting too. And I think one of the main points that I was going to bring up and kind of talking about this is first and foremost, not that we ever felt this way, but you never have it all figured out, because I don't think either of us would have neither of us would have bet money that we would be where we are right now in Yukon.
No. So we were hopeful, but we ran our projections.
But realistic.
Our projections were based off of what Norma did in its growth. And it is just absolutely crushing it. We expected it to be, if I remember right, we expected it to be about a year before over a year before that store was profiting. Right. Luckily, the first year was very marginal, like the amount that we would be losing.
Sure.
And could afford it.
Right. We had the runway for it.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that store's already profitable.
How could it not be?
Yeah.
Right.
January, I ran projected January numbers a little over halfway through, and it was like, January is going to be profitable. Depends on how we do in February.
Sure.
And all that.
Like, does it stay? Is this a January thing or what?
Right.
But my point was that I was going to make is that, we have a recipe and we have a playbook that I know both of us feel very confident in, but it just goes to show that we'll never be able to expect all of the unexpected things.
No.
And it's like, I just wouldn't be sitting here thinking like, oh, we are going to be like really looking at an overlap, because we kind of have like an idea in our head. There is like an amount of sales that we typically do that this like equals like, okay, we're too busy in the store to have one person in there at a time. We need to start adding overlaps, whether that's a lot of times on the weekends where we can be busier, or just days throughout the week. And then eventually you build yourself up to having a mid or an overlap every day of the week. And then you get to the point where you're quail, where you have 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, and an overlap sometimes. And it's like,
3 in the weekend.
Yeah, right. And it's like you're getting to a point where that's just what you need in order to be successful within the store. But it's like we have essentially bookmarks or flags of like what times or like what dollar amounts that we're doing in sales that typically translates to. But that all kind of potentially falls apart a little bit when you have month 2 education on most customers and 2-year typical sales numbers. It starts to look a little bit different. And so like what I was saying before is like, I don't think it will be long, potentially the next location where it's like we are, if not immediately, soon to be immediately like having an overlap ready to go, which is crazy to think about, because that just for the majority of this company's history did not seem like a realistic thing. Like that didn't seem like something we would have been actively thinking about.
It took Norman over a year to get an overlap. Is that right?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
About a year and a half for Norman. It took Quail Springs
to get a full overlap. I think we're a little less on than like a weekend overlap, like a 3-day a week overlap.
Yeah. It took Quail Springs 3 years. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think it was a little over 3 years.
Right.
And we're definitely adding a weekend overlap.
Right.
To Yukon. And man, I know you guys have had some weeks, but yeah, we're looking at obviously we're just kind of getting into it.
Sure.
But we're looking at adding like more of a regular overlap, because when you look at it, and it is on the heels of Norman numbers
on a regular basis.
Like not every once in a while. I check the numbers day after or the morning after, and it is always like they didn't quite. There's only been a few days, which is really funny. It's like it is always right behind Norman, but there's still only been a few.
We barely ever beat him.
Yeah, it's still only like 3 total days outside of like first day and grand opening or just random like events. But like 3 normal days that Yukon has beat Norman. So, and Norman's kind of the same boat. I think it's been like 2 normal days that Norman has beat Quail Springs.
Right.
Quail Springs has 5 years on Norman though.
Right.
So,
right. 7 on Yukon.
Yeah.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But the thing is it's like to be kind of going along with this too, I think one of the things that's been super cool from us from just like a people management standpoint, and I gave a shout out about this at meeting the other day, was that it becomes very easy to associate, especially because we do have home stores and we don't rotate people a ton. There's a couple of people who work at multiple stores, but the majority of people, they've got their home store and that's where they are.
And that's by design.
Right, for sure. It's building familiarity. Like there's a lot that goes into that, and just the ease of the schedule and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it can be very easy to be just personally looking in at your store versus like the overall betterment of the company. And so I gave a shout out at meeting not too long ago, a few weeks ago, just saying how proud I am of everybody, because we are constantly like building up every store. People are helping out at sample events at other stores. People are, kind of, it's very easy to become competitive in a negative way. And I think it's been really cool to see that our people haven't really done that. There's some smack talk, but it's all in good fun. But,
Always.
Yeah. But it's like having, it's not outside of the reality. I've seen people be this way, where it'd be like, why would I sample at that gym? That's only going to help X store or Y store.
Right.
And not help and it won't help my store.
Right.
And it's like, well, now we're losing sight, right? Like we're losing sight of what this is supposed to be. And I'm proud of us because I feel like it's really easy to lose. I think we saw that at S2 a lot. When we worked at Supplement Superstores, we had a North store and we had a South store, and it was a very separated staffs between the two. We were all friends and everything, but I know that there were certain members at each location that like refused to do anything that would like possibly benefit the other store, including like they would only give their business cards, even if they were on the other side of town, because it had the address of the store they were at. And it's like, and we don't do that. Like even our passes and stuff to do, like get people to come in,
Flyers,
have all 3 locations. And it's like, we want to be as convenient as possible, but it does become, I feel like, easier than we've realized to kind of fall into the trap of like, I'm a Quail employee, not a Triad employee.
Right.
It's like, I feel like we've done a good job. And I think like us continue to be mindful of that, but I feel like we've done a good job, or the employees have done a good job of not overly like being boastful or, like. I
know we've harped on it a decent amount, and I think having company meetings more regularly than store meetings helps right now, which I mean, will get increasingly harder as we grow. But we talk about where it really makes sense of, hey, if all 3 stores are only advertising for themselves, and promoting for themselves, you'll see less total sales than if all 3 stores promoted for all 3 stores.
Right.
Everyone benefits if we're all promoting for each other.
Right.
Hey, I'm sampling in Moore, Oklahoma, and because I work at the Norman store, but this person happens to just work out down here because their work's down here, but they live up in Edmond. Like, man, like, here's this flyer. It's got all 3. Dude, check out we've got a location right up by Edmond.
Right. We talk about that all the time.
Because they've got trust that vice versa situation, it would be, the Quail staff would be recommending the Norman store. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And I think part of it that helps as well is like, we don't overly, because of the commission structure or lack thereof of commission structure, I think it's not as like, it's not as meaningful to like just have somebody come to yours. I know I've been in situations where it's like at other places that I've worked, or especially when they were commission and sales driven, where it was like they wanted you to sell like certain things. And so you wanted those people to come get those certain things from you. And so sending that to somebody else seemed like the end of the world. And it's like, that's a huge thing that's really cool for us, is because we don't have anything like that. Like we don't have, I bring this up all the time because it happens so frequently, where I talk to somebody who has worked at a supplement store before, and I get to explain to them that like, I literally have never checked an employee's sales. I've never checked like what one employee is selling or how much they're selling. I don't even know how to do it. Genuinely, I don't know, because like I don't care. It doesn't matter.
I've made the joke. I've done this a couple of times, and I've realized it's a mistake both times, and I just forget. Is I'll like help out a customer, and then like I'll go up and help someone else, and then the customer I was helping goes and checks out with someone else, and I'll like make a joke. Like they're like, hey, like I'll check out with you or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's all right. I'll just make sure he puts it under my name for the commission
Oh, gosh.
as a joke. And then I'm like, oh God, they probably don't know.
Yeah. Kevin, don't do that. God.
I realize. I'm like, hey, just heads up, like we don't work off commission at all.
Right.
But yeah.
But it always blows people's minds who've dealt with like, similar jobs to what we do, but obviously we do a much different way. But I'm like, oh yeah, man, like we don't do commission. We don't do like I don't have any incentive like to sell any of that stuff. I had a guy in actually today who it was his first time in, and he was looking for a protein, and we were talking about it. And the one that made the most sense was Titan Whey. And he starts talking about and asking if we make stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, it's like the Define Whey right there. And it's like both 5 pounders of whey concentrate. And he was like, you recommended this one though. And I was like, well, yeah, man. I mean, like I like both, but like for what you were asking for, like this makes the most sense. And he was like, but you guys make that one. And I'm like, have you worked at a supplement store before?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I used to work at GNC. And I'm like, oh dude, we don't have commission like that. Like I don't give anything special for selling that or this, like even our own brand. Like I literally have no like incentive besides like personal incentive of like, I enjoy it and I think it's cool. And like, I'm excited about it, but like, I don't get something special. I don't get like a gold star or like a bump in my pay for selling 65%, Define nutrition products versus the rest of the store.
Yeah. Dude, I'm pretty sure I've told this story in the podcast before, but I'm going to tell it again anyway. When you get those customers that you've like, what they're asking for is like, oh, what you're asking for just makes sense that I'm recommending, per product. Like I'm recommending like a lot of core nutritionals or a lot of First Form or
whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, I kind of end up sticking with one brand for one reason. It's like, I don't really realize it's like, man, these just make more sense for you.
This is what you're asking for.
Like, oh yeah, but like this is your house brand, right? I wish,
yeah,
dude.
This is a $800 million company.
Yeah.
Like, no, I wish that was our house brand.
Yeah, I think enough people know First Form now. I've gotten it with Core a couple of times.
Core a couple of times too.
But again, another crazy big company. It's just not as, people aren't as familiar in this area, so they assume that. And I've even had like someone say like, oh well, yeah, but I'm sure you have like some sort of deal or something with them. And I was like, no, we actually have a house brand. Yeah. That's it over there.
Right. And I'm like, well, dude, you asked me for like a non-stimulant pre-workout with beta alanine and with what I thought was the best tasting greens. So like,
right. We make a non-stim pre, but it doesn't have beta alanine, man.
Right. And we don't make greens.
Right, we don't make greens.
Yeah. And it's like, or like the guy today, he was like, hey man, like I just want like a good quality, but I want your absolute best price per scoop on a 5 pounder. And I'm like, okay, cool, man. That's Titan Whey. Like it's right here. Like check it out, Yeah. And I was like, this is the price difference and like the serving difference and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, I'll be honest with you. Like if we want to break down flavors, like I love our vanilla. I love their vanilla too. I think I like our chocolate more than their chocolate, but I think I like their vanilla more than our vanilla. And it's like, it's just a personal taste preference. You might feel totally different about it. And it's like, but the reason why this exists and why I can say those words in the stores because like it doesn't directly affect me. I can have the confidence in saying those kind of things because it's like, oh man, I'm just happy if you're happy. Like, yeah, whatever that looks like. Like, all
right, I've got an idea.
Let's hear it.
This is gonna be more off the wall.
What?
You say you're good at shooting from the hip.
Ooh.
We obviously don't recommend Define over any other brand for any other reason other than it is better for that customer.
Product in the world. Everything else.
If it makes sense for the customer, we recommend it. But let's throw a little Define Nutrition advertisement in here. Let me do just a good 30-second Define Nutrition advertisement from the hip.
Okay. Have you ever wanted supplements formulated by a French bulldog in a human's body? Well, come try Define Nutrition, formulated by Preston.
Great.
There it is. Ryan, give me a 1 out of 10.
What was Preston again?
A French bulldog in a human's body.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. Right? I mean, think about it. Yeah.
Can we cut that to use in other episodes?
Oh, I already have the time stamped.
Episode 15, we just throw it in there. This episode brought to you by a French bulldog and a human's body.
FYI, I've changed Thursday's defined post.
Just a picture of Preston. Yeah.
I don't know why I've never heard that bore. He is.
Well, I
is a
just made
French-
that up as I started talking.
You've never referred to him as a French bulldog before?
No. I don't think so.
Bravo.
It's part of my outline. Yeah, I got it.
All right. Well, I don't really know where to go from here.
Yeah.
This is completely out there as well, but it's a connection I just put. Is it Homeward Bound where the dogs really like vanilla pudding
I think so.
and Preston really likes Vanilla Way?
Yeah, that's
It's
it.
true.
That's
It does,
it.
our Vanilla Way tastes like a vanilla snack pack, in my opinion. That's
Yeah.
what I.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Has that kind of similar taste.
Yeah. You want me to do any more ads? Like, would you like to sign up for the Define Yourself Challenge? Have a diet written by a cat in a human's body.
She is a cat. You know, sometimes she's great and wants to hang out.
Yeah.
Sometimes she's a little grumpy.
Yep. Sometimes she likes it if you walk up and scratch her behind the ears. Sometimes she hisses and runs away.
About 100% of the time, she loves boxes.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
For those that don't know Kaylin, like we know Kaylin, she is big fan of boxes.
Yeah, big box girl.
We get in the group text, like anytime someone gets like an extra big box in the shipments, like we text it and just like tag Caitlin.
Yeah.
Is she legitimately like, you'll put like Quail will get one and you'll just like, Caitlin like this box. So you just leave it out because you know she works in an hour.
Yeah.
And she gets there,
Like, hey, I got you a treat.
like comes in, doesn't say anything, just like looks at it and just sets her stuff down, opens it up,
Walks around it a couple times.
walks around it a couple of times, crawls in.
Scratches it. We should start getting some like those little like balls with bells in them. Just putting them in there.
Well, I know the other day, Anthony found a box that was perfect. And granted, she was working in an hour. So he went ahead and cut 2 little windows in it. And she did what you just said and walked around. She's like, oh, there's windows on this one. Perfect. And was so excited.
That's great. That's great. She I will apologize to her publicly. She doesn't necessarily get in boxes around me very often anymore, because the last time she did, I shut the box, I taped it close, and I flipped it over.
I'm pretty sure there's video of that somewhere.
I heard cats don't like that either.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, man. And Preston humped my leg the other day. So
You've got a talent for this. What everybody's spirit animal.
I have called Will a golden retriever many times.
Yeah.
I mean, I've photoshopped his face onto a golden retriever.
Right. Just
He is 100% a golden retriever.
yeah,
Golden retriever.
I love it when like I've had customers in Yukon that I've dealt with that they've seen me more times. Like we have a couple, the Figueroas, super cool people, shopped with us for a while, both doing the challenge. Like we've gone through a ton of stuff with them, and they are well on their way on their triad degree, and super great people. But Chris came in the other day and was talking to me, and he was like, hey, I met Will for the first time the other day. And I was just like, oh yeah, like, isn't he great? And they were like, yeah, he's so nice. And I was like, yeah, he is absolutely like our golden retriever. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. He was just so excited to see us and meet us and talk to us. And I was like, oh, I get it. And Chris did have a really nice compliment for us too, where he was like, they've come in and they've met myself, obviously, Will now, and Kaylin before. And they were like, every time we come in, it's like meeting a long lost family member. And I was like, that's really sweet to hear. Like, that was cool. But but they were like, and I'm like, yeah, Will's the dog of the family. He's our puppy.
I think we need to make a new like segment to the podcast of deciding one person on staff's spirit animal every episode.
Ooh, I like this.
We
I
did
like
2 today, so we're ahead.
Yeah,
So
we're ahead of the
Cut it.
calm down.
cut it now.
Right.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, this is good.
That, and let's add in one advertisement.
Yeah.
It could be for anything. Define, try it, or
Right.
I mean, we've got people reaching out to try to quote unquote sponsor.
Really?
They
You're
all seem
just now telling us this?
because they all seem fake.
Dang.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We need local.
They all go straight to my junk email and say, "We'd love to sponsor your blah blah blah." And it's
They probably got your info like from like, I'm sure like maybe like the links or whatever.
yeah, that's what I guess. But yeah, they all seem completely fake. But
We need
Get
some
one of those
local
probably a month.
sponsors. Anybody wants to sponsor us? I will
Thomas will-
not turn that. I will.
Thomas will shoot from the hip on your advertisement. You got 30 seconds with Thomas.
Tell me what you got.
What do your employees look like?
Yeah, come on. I'll hawk your crap for you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. New segment. We got to do one advertisement. If we don't get anybody paying for an advertisement, we'll advertise for ourselves.
Yeah.
30 seconds. You shoot from the hip. If
I
someone
love it.
wants to take that spot,
Hey.
we'll sell it.
That's right.
someone just gets annoyed. We keep advertising our own, so they finally sponsor.
Yeah.
Hey.
It would be cheap. It would be so cheap. Yeah. This episode of the podcast brought to you by, I don't know.
Anti-Triad Coalition.
My script here says, shut up. You chubby dipshit. This episode of the podcast brought to you by the Chubby Dipshits.
Yeah. You can advertise for the podcast.
Yep.
If
That'd
you
be
like,
a good name for just like a dip company, like French onion, buffalo, chicken dip.
I thought you were talking about tobacco.
No.
Dipshit.
Yeah, the chubby dipshit brand. I'm a marketing genius. I just need you just got to hold on. We'll get there.
Dude, there's a game. Okay, I'll advertise for this game, but it's genuine.
They paying us?
Are
they paying us?
I'll reach out. If they don't pay us, we'll have Ryan cut it.
Okay. So
He's been cutting my stuttering in
I heard.
in the did you hear?
Yeah. Yeah, you told me about it.
I sounded great in that clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll cut this if they don't pay for this advertisement. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
Have you heard of the game Business Walrus?
No.
It's by the same people that make Cards Against Humanity.
Okay.
And it is literally a game made for us. It is
What?
you go around a circle, like you play with, handful of people. So like let's say you play 4 people.
Okay.
Go around the circle, taking turns being the business walrus. And the business walrus draws a card, and you have to come up with an idea like create an invention that makes the toilet nicer
Oh.
or better. But then he draws, and then each player has their own cards of like certain specifics of this invention. Like it has to be bad for the environment.
Nice.
So then you have to create a pitch on for your invention.
Mm-hmm.
Like my invention was, this is the example they have on the back of the box. My invention was a roll of toilet paper that just automatically rolls out and wipes the bottom of your bum and just goes right down in the toilet. So you use a whole roll the whole time, but it's automatic. And there's little things like you have to write a jingle with it. Like there's like these little cards with it.
Yeah.
When you're late for class, but you gotta poop, use a toilet that wipes your ass.
My God, that was beautiful.
I had to think about that before. Remember, I'm not a shoot from the hip guy. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it was like Thomas and I have done all of this for fun.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we've made a number of inventions. The thing that popped in my head was the underwear that we invented.
Please explain.
I can't remember the
Neither can
specifics.
I.
But that was like a full-on 2-hour conversation about our underwear invention one night. I remember at the old house.
I remember us spending a lot of time working on our karate tournament tour that would happen at breweries, and it was going to be called Hops and Chops.
Didn't we came up with like more and like uses for that name?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Like all the different things that you could be doing.
yeah, it's like hopscotch and log cutting.
You talking about the jump rope lumberjack competition? Oh man, this is primo content.
It is.
I feel good about it. Don't
We
be
could-
stealing our ideas over there,
We
like Kevin's jingle.
yeah.
Copyright.
But we could just play this game next episode.
That's all we do. Is just play the game.
You're just pitching me ideas.
All right, Kevin. Hear me out. That's funny. Yeah. It's it is really interesting kind of getting back on topic, I guess, from where we were before, but is that every new store that we open has a brand new dynamic that I feel like we almost weren't expecting. Like, or something that, you know, I just, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting when we reach the point, if we ever reach the point, and I say this feeling like we probably won't, where it's like we got all of our, you know, I's dotted and T's crossed for like just cool, it's good to go. You know what I mean? Without like spending too much money or wasting money or whatever that looks like. But it's like having it, you know, because again, man, like kudos to our customer base in Yukon, but it's like we weren't expecting to be doing this, right? We weren't expecting to have such an amazing community buy into us as quickly as they have. And you know, we've been really blessed with that, and so it has come with its own set of challenges, exciting challenges for sure. Like we'd much rather have, this is a good problem to have,
100%.
but it makes me think to the future of like, man, like if we were to, you know, if we were to go back, what would this, you know, what would our planning have looked like if we knew all the answers? But I'm saying that, and we don't know the answers. We could cut our sales in half next month, and that changes everything then.
The thing, man, yeah, big one is, you know, hindsight being 2020 is if we knew what we knew, if we knew when we were starting what we know now, we probably would have hired enough for an overlap, which, gosh, we hired 3 full-time people at once. Like,
Right.
it would have been difficult having another full-time person on there. But at the time, that would have been honestly way too risky. That would have put our expenses where we were.
It's still
bleeding.
risky.
It still is kind of risky, but it is also risky not to, because you start to run into the issue of we've got customers that come in when it's busy and we're not able to help them because there's too many people, and
We can't give them the try it experience.
Right.
And that's the thing. And that's like, I think, you know, and this is something that we've talked about numerous times on here, is that we don't sell supplements, we sell the try it experience. And so if I can't give you the try it experience, the supplements don't matter.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think that we've done a good job of, like, whether that's you coming up, Will coming up, myself coming up to help when we're just busy, is, you know, it's essentially the text message that is, I can't give the try it experience. Like, we don't say it that way, but it is the, like, I'm at a point right now where I can't give these people the experience that we want. What we actually sell here is the try it experience. And if I can't do that, then like, what's the point? What's the point of having a store?
Yeah, exactly. And it's, man, how many times, you know, like our whole model is based off of, you know, just get people in the door. If we just get them in the door, there's a good chance they become a regular customer.
Right.
But if we're not able to do the things that are set in place and handle these people the way that we plan, there's a lot smaller chance that they become a regular customer. Right. So we're missing out on that. And it's like, man, we potentially lose out on some long-term gains because of that, because we just don't have enough staff on there. And,
right.
Man, one really cool thing has been watching how many people understand that. Obviously you and Will are big on that of, man, I think you both have been working quite a bit extra of, you know, staying late or coming in early and helping out and being around. And man, I know Ryan's been out in Yukon.
I should have mentioned Ryan as well. Ryan's been very helpful, especially last week. He took a lot of customers.
Nice. That's really cool to hear. And, you know, I'm kind of in the same boat where, you know, if I've got work to do, try and do it in the back of Yukon if I can. That way, you know, I work away, and if it starts to get busy, I can jump up front. And, you know, if I'm there for a 6-hour period, I maybe take 1 or 2 customers. And that's not too, you know, not interrupting a ton, but
Ryan, how many do you think you took the other day?
I was there for probably 4 hours and probably took 6 or 7 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
What day was that?
Thursday.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get food and came back to 6 people in the store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good thing that you were there.
And fear in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
So
it's,
Ryan went back, finished his lunch, and then came up and took some customers.
Yeah.
It was really good chicken.
Yeah. Just kidding.
But yeah, no, it's everybody understands like, hey, like we got to get these people helped out, and there is a plan in place to have a more permanent overlap.
Mhm.
But and everybody's willing, if it was like, it just is what it is, I think people would be a lot less likely to want to jump in and help out like that, because there's no end in sight to that.
Right.
But there's a plan in place to have an overlap, and hey, we just got to get through this little period of time. So
Mm.
Norman went through a little bit of that too.
Sure
where,
did. Yeah.
where it was we were having a tough time finding the right person that fit that made sense there in Norman, and ended up landing on Logan, he was an awesome employee.
Great.
And but there was a period of time where we were too busy to not have an overlap through the week.
It's a tough situation because it's like, it's bad to be late, but it's arguably worse to be early when it comes to an overlap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, people don't realize how much money goes into an employee, and like, one, like, you're betting your ability to maintain their livelihood.
We put ourselves in a pretty bad spot in 2019 because we hired a little bit too quickly, and like that's it was a January thing where we saw, this was when challenges for us, the Define Yourself challenge was relatively was a much bigger percentage for us than it is now. It's grown, it's gotten bigger, but our customer base is a lot more dynamic than it used to be. But we had a big January in 2019. We hired Alyssa and Anthony. Anthony was just talking about this. He likes to poke fun at it. And then our February was a little bit more back to normal. We still saw growth from one February to the next, but we kind of hired a little bit too early on that, and it put us kind of in a tight spot as far as cash flow goes. And second half of 2019 was a little rough.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think back to the point that you just made too, is it's like knowing that there's an end in sight with it is what allows morale to stay high.
Yep.
It allows you to keep being excited about it, because like, it is human nature to eventually just be hoping for a slow day. Right. And it's like, and that's not what we want, obviously.
Right.
Like, but it is human nature to be like, gosh, I could use a break.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's a balancing that tightrope of like getting the help there in time as accurately as possible without burning your employees or without being way too early and putting ourselves into like a financial issue that's rough.
Right.
That's what happened when we were at the hospital. And I will be honest about this story. The administration at the hospital screwed us over. So during COVID, they were running us, I had 1,400 hours on my schedule of employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted us to cut 200 hours off of the schedule. And so I maybe have told this story before, but the
One thing on the podcast.
The first thing I did was I went to every employee that we had and asked them essentially like, hey, can you cut, what is the minimum amount of hours you need to work to be financially stable, right? If that is an hour a week that I can cut, like if you're a 40-hour week employee and I drop you down to 39, if that is an hour a week, if I can get, but if I can get 40 people to do that, I don't have to lay one person off. Mm-hmm. So if I can get people to give 2 hours, or I can get 80 people to give up 1 hour, well, now that's like 2 employees that I can not have to fire, which is like huge. We want to keep as many people as possible. So I took that amount and then was able to not lay anybody off, redistribute those hours back to the people. So nobody had to get into a point where they were financially unstable, but we got to keep everybody on staff too, because people were willing to give up hours. And so what ends up happening though, is the hospital was like, don't worry, it's temporary. You're going to get your 200 hours back. You can get your 200 hours back, like no problem. And we're like, okay, cool. So we're doing everything we can, because in a situation like that is not dissimilar to Triad in the sense of like, you have no effect on how many people walk through the door that day. Like you can't really control that, especially lowering the number, right? Mm-hmm. So we're running with less staff and you're still getting just as many jobs, but the jobs are taking longer to get finished. So people are getting more frustrated. So people are ruder to our staff on the floors. Like it starts to spiral pretty quickly. And, and everybody's running, no breaks all day long, essentially, because if you don't have a job, like an actual patient to be moved at the time, like my thought process was like, take a break to chill. That doesn't bother me. Like I'm fine if you just kind of hang out for a little bit. I'm not going to give you busy work right now. You have a physical job. And if you have an opportunity to take a free break, take a free break, man. Like enjoy it. And so that wasn't happening. There was always 20 waiting jobs in the system constantly, every moment of every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we're doing everything that we can. We're, we're catering food in. We're kind of getting this stuff in, whatever. And morale is starting to drop. But we just it's coming back. The 200 hours coming back. And then when we were supposed to get our 200 hours back, that they had been promising us this whole time, they go, "Well, it seems like you guys are doing fine without it." Yep. And I was like, no, we've been running our entire staff into the ground, making this work as a temporary thing. And now you're telling us it's the new norm. Like you're setting us up for failure. Like,
man, that's a disconnect between higher ups and base level employees.
100,000%. Yeah. And that was like, man, that was such a struggle to deal with, because that's the same thing. And you know what? I'm getting on my pedestal here. And tell me if this makes sense to you, Kevin, because I want to rant about this because it drives me crazy. And every person that has ever been in the healthcare field that I have presented this to, they were like, "Oh, that makes a ton of sense." Yeah, right. So these are not meetings that I'm talking about with like low-level administrators. We're talking like CFO, CEOs, like people who CNO, like people who make legitimate decisions. And I was having a conversation with a CFO one time, explaining, like asking the questions of like, how many requisitions or job openings do you have for nurses right now that you're not able to fill? And they're like, essentially unlimited, but I don't know, we have 300 job postings right now for nurses, right? And it was like, okay, so you have 300 job postings for nurses. Like, what are your chances you fill half of those? And they're like, sub 1%. And I'm like, okay, so if we're sub 1% on filling those, I was like, what is the average nurse's salary? I don't even remember what he said, but it ended up being like, you could hire, X amount of support staff to one nurse's salary, right? And I was like, if you're never going to fill these, like, you're never going to fill even half of them. I was like, why don't you take 10 nursing requisitions off the board and apply that to support services so that every single nurse is not doing a single task all day that is not a nurse specific task, something that they went to school for. They are a specialized employee. Have them be specialized. They should not be transporting patients from one floor to X-ray, which is across the hospital. They should not be cleaning patients' rooms.
Right.
They should not be grabbing food trash to clean that.
Anything that someone that it doesn't have to have the same education
right.
can
Any
do.
unskilled laborer can do those things.
Right.
And it's like, and you need unskilled laborers to make everything, like hospitals tick. Right. And so it's like, if I could hire, and I think it ended up being like typically like 3 to 4 support staff per nursing requisition. So I was like, you give me 5 of those nursing requisitions and you give 5 to each of the support staff, hubs that we have, or like departments that we have within this hospital. I was like, and guarantee that while these nurses are way overloaded because they need 300 nurses or whatever they needed, right?
Yeah.
It's like, why would we not take everything away from them that is not nurse specific and give it to unskilled laborers who are happy to come and take $9, $10, $11 an hour jobs?
Yeah.
Take all of that away from them and then just have us make sure that we pick up all the slack. And it's like, wouldn't that like, one, make this a more inviting places for nurses to come, thus helping you actually fill those requisitions because
they're getting to do the things they thought they signed up for.
Exactly. They're getting the help that they actually need. They get to have the patient care so that the actual experience for the patient becomes better. And thus you like have a win-win. Like
you're having to pay less as well.
Right. And hire them as temporary. If the nursing goes way up, get rid of these people. They are happy to be here even if it's temporarily. And so like, and I'm talking to him and he was like, well, I don't know. And then they cut all support staff like 200 hours each department. And you're like, oh, cool. So now you're making where we already have a nursing shortage. Now you're taking away their help and wondering why nobody wants to come and work here.
Dude, that's like
What?
Yeah, it's like you're looking at it like, wow, gosh, we just can't hire enough nurses, but at the same time, we need to be cutting budgets. So like, we cut, transport
Yep.
and all this other
EVS
support
and
stuff.
food service.
Yeah, and it's like, but we need these nurses to do more if we're cutting all this stuff. And it's like, well,
Guys, like you make no sense. This makes
yeah,
no sense, but it's what you're talking about. It's that disconnect between like actually being there and understanding what's happening. And this is the most frustrating part about my job is I lived on the line between administrator and front lines. And so it's like I had to be the like intermediary a lot of times. And it's like, guys, like this makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Or like we had a massive we had a big shortage of like stuff when it came to like equipment, and you need a ton of equipment to like make a hospital run. And they were like, well, if we hire a temporary worker, they have to go through XYZ training in order to like come and be here. And I was like, and I know I'm getting into the weeds here, but I'm like, why would we not hire temporary workers that could just like unload pallets in the warehouse that's not connected?
Yeah.
And then like we thus expedite that process. And then the people who we already have who are already trained through that process have less work to do.
Yeah.
And they can get more done.
I feel like that's constant. Like I'm constantly looking at like my tasks, my to-do list. And it's like anything that I can pass along that I someone else could do almost as good as I can, I'm gonna pass that
Right.
along. It's like I've now got to the boat where it is a conscious or almost a subconscious thing where I'm constantly passing off things that someone else can do,
Right.
because I am just constantly getting more at things on the front end. I'm even getting to the point now where I'm working with other people, and especially with like Ryan and Alyssa are big ones where they have so much back end stuff that it just fills up their schedule that they're not able to take care of some things that maybe aren't urgent but are important. It's like,
Sure.
hey, how do we delegate some of this stuff on and help other people grow and help you focus on some things that you want to be able to get to?
Right.
So it's, hey, if there's something that's on your to-do list that someone else can do, let's be passing it along.
Right.
And this is how we grow. But
We need our skilled people getting more skilled stuff done.
Yes, exactly. Use your talents where they're best used. And then if you have a base level employee that can take on a small
Right.
thing that's above what they're doing right now, or not necessarily above, but just something that like helps them additional, that helps them, that's not required of every base level employee, that helps them grow as well.
Absolutely.
And obviously that's our business model. And obviously nurses and support staff don't necessarily work that way, but
Right.
it's
The
pass along-
correlation's there though.
Exactly. So, but going back to, man, it's cool that you were able to, with the amount of people that you had at the hospital, were able to work with everybody on, hey, what's the amount of hours that you can cut,
Right.
and to be able to keep everybody on staff. You didn't
Right.
just look at
Who am I firing?
Yeah, exactly. What would that be like? 5 people that you would have to fire for 200 hours,
Yeah.
and just 5 worse people out of here. It's
See
like,
ya.
hey, like, if
And
you
that's
like,
how a lot of departments did it. Just got rid of 5 people.
I mean, it's a good way to, cut the slackers, but
Right.
at the same time, man, I think it's more important to show, like, especially if you have a solid team, is to show, hey, man, we're in this together. We've got everybody's back.
Right.
Kind of, it's an opportunity to show that you do. So, because, and we actually did almost the same thing,
Right.
as we were getting into 2020. I talked about earlier where, and second half of 2019 was a little rough because we were overspending a little bit, and we grew a ton in 2019 and got excited. And we kind of, we hired on and we started investing in these things, in new opportunities, and putting some dollars into marketing, and overreached a little bit. And 2019 is where we set up a budget, a much more robust budget than we were going off of, that we still use today, and it actually works really well. But Profit First, great book. If you do run a business and are in charge of budgeting, highly recommend that. That changed our company's finances tremendously.
Nice.
We use that system plus a couple others kind of in there, but it was second half of 2019 was a tough year in cash flow. That was the period of time that I was not paying myself, and we had a handful of employees. So, and I think it went a year without paying myself there. No, No, it was like 2020 was the first full year I was able to pay myself. So either way, end of 2019 was rough. And then we get into 2020 and like we'd spent the second half of 2019 turning things around. We hit 2020, we see some growth, great sales, we're finally getting on top of things. And then COVID's like, bang.
Yeah, right.
And which sucks, but at the same time, it's like, we're a lot more prepared to handle this now.
Right.
We know what the struggle looks like. So, we were able to kind of implement some things on like, hey, if we do start to slow down, these are all the things that we're going to do. Man, we actually saw a really, really solid period through quarantine. Is we never saw less sales than we did the previous month. Like we showed at least a little bit of growth in every month of 2020 compared to the previous month of 2019, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Because the supplement industry was one that was doing roughly 50% on like, I think that might've been the high end in the supplement industry.
Yeah. People were cutting themselves in half.
Yeah.
And we were
literally. But
this episode of the podcast brought to you by cutting yourself in half.
Bill's Saws.
Save that, Ryan. That's a good one.
So we go into 2020 and it was, we put a lot of things in place and we're able to see I think we did really well, everything considered. But one thing we put in place that we didn't ever actually end up acting on was we looked at everybody like, hey, we're not a massive group. I think we had, what was it? 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there was 5 of us, maybe 6.
Right.
And it was like, hey, we're not a big group. Like we're all very close and we don't want to have to like cut anybody.
Yeah. Right.
That would suck.
Yeah.
And not be a good show. Even for the people that we didn't have to cut, that wouldn't be a good show of like when times are tough, they just fucking give people the boot. So I went to everybody. I was like, hey, privately, like, please let me know, what the, I don't even know if this is legal or not, but,
whatever
what is the least amount that you would need to get paid to be able to pay your bills and survive.
That would have been over minimum wage.
That would have been over minimum wage. This is why we keep Thomas around for HR. Officially our HR. But it was, what's the minimum amount? And it's like, man, I even preface like, hey, I'm not saying that we will cut your pay that amount.
Right. But I just need to know my range.
Right.
I need my line in the sand.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm not even saying that I'm going to cut it at all.
Right.
But if we do, I've got at least, like you said, line in the sand. I know our range. I'm going to try and distribute equally or as equally as possible.
Right.
That way everybody can keep their job during this time. So, because we had people even reaching out at that time, which is, kind of sad, but like you hear from people like, man, I got laid off. Like, hey, just tried hiring by chance. And my answer was always, man, I'm just doing my best to keep the employees we have right now. So, but yeah, we were able to make it through. Never saw a down month in,
never had to do it.
Never saw a down month, and we never had to cut pay at all. So, man, we were able to make it through. And I learned that, I can't remember, it was either a book or a podcast that was about a company that did it because it became so much of the standard. I think it was during some president's term that it became
Eisenhower.
Maybe, I can't remember. Who was a president during the Great Depression?
Ryan, Jamie, you pull that up for us. Maybe it was Eisenhower.
It might even, it might even not even been around the Great Depression. But either way, it was something.
Roosevelt.
That's right. It was. Yeah, I wanted to say Roosevelt, but I wasn't sure. But I think it was Teddy Roosevelt that like put something in place where they end up laying off some. I hope I'm right. I'm not 100%, but they ended up like laying off some government jobs to cut back on budgets. And then since that point, it became the standard in business for so many businesses across the U.S. That it's just now that's an okay thing. where I remember reading about a business that said that's shitty.
Yeah, right.
Let's hey, we're seeing,
care about your employees.
yeah. So they ended up there's a company, I can't remember what type of company, but they ended up seeing a little bit of a downturn, and they said, hey, everybody, we don't want to lay anybody off. We want everybody to be able to keep their job. We're going to lower everybody's salary by 10%.
Right.
Here's the situation. Like, we're doing this so we don't have to lay anybody off. We do understand if you can't make that work, you can't pay your bills with that. And we are really sorry, but hey,
but this saves everyone's job.
Yes, exactly.
You got something here.
And there was and I think a big part of it was they set an end goal in sight. It's like, hey, this is for the next 12 months. And a year from now, we're going to bump that back and even try and do some back pay, or even try and do, bonuses or raises or anything. Even
just help.
Yeah, exactly. They had an anticipation of when they would see an uptick. And
right.
So took a note from that. Hearing that story legitimately helped us going into COVID and prepare for that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it was a big thing too, because like if you're thinking even from like let's say you have just a super selfish, like you don't actually care about your employees, you just care about your business or whatever, which I don't recommend. But the idea and part of the thought process for me, like especially explaining to my director at the time, was like, when we get these hours back, I don't want to have to hire new people. I don't want to train new people. I just want to give hours back.
Yeah.
I just want to turn everybody back, their notch back up. Like, and then I don't have to worry about it. It's as simple
as a flip of the switch, as opposed to a 2-month long.
One day, I'm back to 100%. Not hiring, figuring out the place where it falls apart is when they don't give you your freaking hours back. And then you're sitting there and you're like, okay, cool. Well, now now I'm the bad guy because I made promises that I can't keep anymore because they made promises to us. But that's besides the point. But it's like, yeah, like I just never understood why people didn't go that route of it's just like, because the thing is like, especially if you have a number of people, it's like, it's a very minimal amount. And like you said, I did the same thing. I had some people who like, this was their livelihood. I had employees who were 50, 60 years old who were like, I need all 40 of my hours. I can't give up 1 hour without it like hurting me. And I'm like, look, I get it. As long as everyone's honest with me, like I'll trust you. And so it's like, if you need all 40 hours, you need all 40 hours. If 39, then he had some college students who were 40 hours and they're like, dude, I could work 20 hours to be fine. Like I live at home. It's not a big deal. I can work 10 hours. Like doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, cool. Thank you
for letting me know. I won't, if you prefer closer to 40, dude, I try not to cut it that much.
Exactly. But like knowing like I need my line in the sand and I will try to stay as far away from that as possible.
Right.
But I'm not going to take hours from this person who says they need 39 and bump them down to 20 when I've got some college student who I know, because that was like the big question was like, was that fair? And I told my boss at the time, I was like, if I get fired for it, like if this is wrong and HR fires me for it, like fire me for it. Like I will die on this hill of like, I'm not taking hours from that person that can't afford it when I have this person that can. And if that's unethical for whatever reason, I understand how maybe somebody could collude that into being a bad thing, but it's like, I'm coming at this in an honest way. And I'm like, if you're going to fire me for that, fire me for that. I'll take that on the chin. That's fine. If that's how this is going to go, I don't want to be here. You know?
I mean, luckily we were at the point again where we had 5 total people, I think, including myself. So it's like, we didn't have an HR. Like we've got a lot smaller amount of people that are going to, go telling or suing us. So.
And you should be like, just burn their paperwork. Like this person never worked for us. What are we talking about?
It was like when you used to do the second interview before you worked at the store, and you were allowed to ask the questions that I don't know if we're allowed to ask you.
Wasn't an official interview.
Yeah,
and then they were like, Thomas interviewed me the second time, and like, Thomas has been dead for 12 years.
There's no Thomas on our payroll.
See, I told you, part of the spooky episode.
Full circle.
That's right.
We got there.
We got back to the spooky side. But yeah, man, that's it's just really interesting how those kind of things happen. And like you were saying, like with Roosevelt or whoever it was, but it was like that becoming what became the standard. And it's, and I'll apply that even to us a little bit. And I hope this comes across the right way, but it's like, just because something is done one way or has been done one way for a long time doesn't make it the right way. You know, we've even had to, I hesitate even saying this, but it's just like some of the growing pains that we have where it's like quail has been around for 7 years, but every store has their own unique things. And so it's that like not every store needs to do everything the same way, whether that's, you know, somebody coming from Norman going to Yukon or somebody from Quail to Yukon or whatever. And it's like, well, this store, well, it's like, okay, but that's just because, and I'm using that as a point of like, just because it's been done this way for a long time doesn't mean it's the best way for this situation or the best way in general. Like if you just take that as it's, oh, this is how we've always done it. Well, then it's like, okay, well then you've just given up getting better.
Right.
If we view Quail or Norman or Yukon as the perfect store, will never be better than what they are now.
Right. That's the bar is set.
Right.
Yeah. But each one has their own nuances. They each has a totally different, I shouldn't say totally different demographic, but they have a different demographic. They have a different group of customers. So it's I mean, not even to mention like each one has a different amount of square footage and a slightly different layout, and especially in the back of the store. It's I remember working with Anthony on that, and he's really grasped this well. Of
right,
he would work some shifts down in Norman from time to time when we were first getting going, and he struggled with there were some things that were different at Norman than at Quail, and he'd worked at Quail for several years and was taking over management there, and you know took a lot of pride in it.
Sure,
and it was he came to me, he's like, hey man, I just don't know that they're upholding the standard. He's like, this is the way we do things at Quail, and they're doing it differently. And it's like, hey man, like let's take a second and look at this. It's like, is that a bad thing? Is this genuinely a bad thing, or is it genuine, or is it just different?
Right.
Because there's going to be some things that when you really take a step back, it is impossible to think that each store can operate exactly the same, that each product can be laid out in the exact same way, that everything can be set up the exact same way in the back, that each customer is taken the exact same way. We have college kids at Norman. We don't really have college kids up at Quail Springs.
Right.
So it's
not nearly as many, at least.
Yeah.
Not like a large percentage of your demographic.
Right. So it's each store has to operate differently, man. And we have to be okay with that and like really take a step back. It's like, I know I learned that when we started hiring employees, because I was coming from a spot where I was the one opening the store in the morning, taking every customer, working the sample events, restocking at night, like putting away orders and keeping everything organized.
Right.
So someone would organize something differently than I organized it, and it would like be this like, that's not right.
Right.
Like it was my gut reaction.
Right.
And, like almost get frustrated at it and want to fix it. And it's like, but hey, let's take a step back here.
Right.
Is it bad? Is it worse than what I was doing?
Right.
No. Then why am I spending time trying to fix this?
Yeah, right. It's just different. And I think even it was, I think you even noticed it too in a firsthand account where it was like when we first opened Norman, you were still working shifts at both stores. And I remember you and I having a conversation. This was, obviously like 2+ years ago, but you of just kind of like coming in the back one time when we were both there and just being like, I have to talk to people so differently here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a totally different conversation. How, like, whether it's people taking a recommendation or what they're even into or interested in, it's like, oh, you have to talk to somebody completely different. Like, it's a totally different deal.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Even down to the customers that you're taking. It's
Literally.
yeah.
Well, like think about it. What's the difference supplement wise between a 40-year-old woman that shops with us and a 19-year-old college male? Like, is there some overlap? Absolutely. Is there definitely not some overlap? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to products, brands they're into, like whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like you look at a 40-year-old woman getting a pre-workout, and I'm just using these as like opposites, obviously, and a 19-year-old male looking for a pre-workout. The 40-year-old is probably looking for like really good quality, making sure it matches to their schedule and when they're taking it, and it's gonna taste good and sit on their stomach well. And no offense to all the 19-year-old college students listening, but most of them, a lot of times, as we all know, is like, I want the strongest stuff you have. Like, well, give me something high stem. I really like high stem. And you're like, yeah, okay, that's on this end of the section. You know what I mean? But it's like, we have options for a reason,
That's a 99% of the time. That's what you're, but you have to ask those questions.
Right. Exactly.
Because at 1% of the time, I had a lady at UConn a couple weekends ago that it was really busy in the store. Will and I were there, and then you joined in afterwards. We had events going on, so there's a bunch of us there working and taking this, just like stores packed. This wasn't the grand opening, but this lady came up to the counter with Raw Pre-Extreme, which has 400 milligrams of caffeine in it. And I was like,
yeah, mama.
she's like, probably close to my mom's age.
Huh?
And that pre-workout would not work well for my mom.
No, right.
So I asked her, I was like, oh, have you tried this before? She's like, oh, no, but I like the Raw products. So I figured I'd try the pre-workout. I was like, so I'm like, have you looked at like the back? Like, just as a heads up, like this one is very strong. I might recommend just trying a half scoop to start. She's like, oh, I used to do Psychotic for a pre-workout. I'm like, take 2 scoops.
Yeah, go for it. Never mind. Just kidding. Have fun. Go for a ride, mama. Yeah.
I was like, your tolerance is twice as strong as mine is.
Yeah. But again, it's like, it's why we have First Form Megawatt and we have Rise Godzilla.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of a funny thing is you hear like marketing 101, you hear that it's better to go after certain demographics than it is everybody. And I think you have to make sure that you're doing different things for different demographics when you're marketing to different demographics, and even taking obviously them in the store as well. But that's something that's been really cool. I feel like is like we don't have necessarily a certain demographic that we shoot for.
No, not at all. We are very blessed in the sense that we offer a lot. I think it's not by accident though, obviously, but I think we provide a like clean, tidy, professional looking appearance, which I think is very important, especially for people who aren't your normal supplement taker. Obviously our like hiring of just being friendly and knowledgeable staff, I think is super important. But then if you look at the other side of things is how many hours a week do we spend, Alyssa specifically, and I know other people feeding into it as well, of sharing the newest thing that's popular on TikTok and talking about it and can we get it in, or like what are people asking for? I mean, like we literally every single whiteboard or every single store has a whiteboard where it is like what are customers asking for, and it's like, and we're marking those and finding things that make sense.
Called the TikTok portion of the whiteboard.
Literally, like that's a huge part of it, especially from like a Norman demographic where it's like knowing what to pick up for all the stores, as funny as it is, like certain places are going to probably carry more weight than others because it's like, if you want to know what's popular on social media, look at what Norman's asking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's super interesting. But it's like, it's very intentional for us to be looking at all the different things in order to appeal to the whole demographic in a good way, right? Like we do the things that appeal to everybody really well, but then we also strengthen ourselves in the individual demographics as well.
Right. We do individual things for each demographic. I think a good analogy, which I've heard before, so this isn't me making this up on this, I won't take credit for it. It's like a photographer. Like if you're a photographer and you market yourself of, I can photograph anything. I can do weddings. I can do senior pictures. I can do events. I can do
boudoir.
Boudoir. Pronounce that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Thanks. That's popular these days.
This episode of the podcast brought to you by Kevin's Boudoir Shooting.
Yeah, you got to join my OnlyFans for that. And it's like, okay, you get on looking. You're trying to hire a photographer for your wedding,
right?
You get online and you see this photographer that's marketing everything. I do weddings. I do senior pictures. I do boudoir. And then the next one down is like photographer specializes in weddings. And it's like, which one are you going to pick? The one that's good at everything or the one that is really good at weddings?
Right.
And it's like, I think that's a lot of marketing 101. It's like people are going to naturally pick that one. But the kicker to that is that it is more beneficial. Like if this photographer that is specializes in weddings also created almost a totally different site,
Right.
and almost a totally different name of photographer that specializes in senior pictures.
Right.
You get on, you're going to hire that one.
Right.
So
like
it's
an individual one for each.
it's spending time with each demographic, and we've done that quite a bit with like bodybuilding. We've done that with CrossFit. We've done that
Jiu-jitsu.
with jiu-jitsu. We've done that with boot camps.
Right.
Ryan's got a point though.
It's funny you say that because my sister, who does wedding photography and senior shoots, started a second channel or second Instagram for senior shoots just like
Yeah.
a week ago for that very reason.
Wow. Yeah. That's super. I used the perfect example.
Yeah. Right. But it makes sense though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think like where for us as a business, from like a pure economics and like traditional business, if you were to sit in like, you know, business 101, is like we make no sense,
Mhm.
right? From like an actual economic standpoint. Like we offer more services, more things, like more specialties, more effort in all of these things for the lowest price we can be at.
Yeah. Dude, there's a
That like doesn't make sense.
dude, there's a TikTok sound that goes along, that's something along the lines of like, and this is I think a lot of marketing 101 as well, of like you've got three options. You can be the cheapest, the fastest, or the best quality. And you can pick two of those, but you can't have all three.
Right.
And it's like, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, I feel like the three qualities of a supplement store, what would they be? Would they be cheapest? They would be best service
And knowledge.
and
Or would knowledge fall under service?
I feel like knowledge would fall under service. Maybe like best product variety, maybe.
Yeah, it would be price for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Service.
I mean, even if you just broke it down to two of like, you can be best price or best service.
Right.
You can't like, you have to pick one or the other.
I think
It's-
product variety is a good one.
we'll use those two then, or you use those three. Is you got to pick two of those, and it's just like, man, I don't know if we're doing this wrong, and this is all going to come crumbling down.
What are we doing here?
But I feel like we're like, I mean, well, not to toot our own horn or
I'll toot
toot my horn after the podcast. As I feel like we do as equally as good of a job in every category.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. No, I agree. No matter like, even if you were to add the fourth category of being like knowledge, and it's like, I think the thing is, and this is where I'll toot your horn for you, is like, I think what sets us apart genuinely is our team.
Yeah.
Like if we didn't have the people that we had, if we had people coming to work for a paycheck, nobody that works for us comes to work for a paycheck.
Mhm.
Like none of them at all.
No,
In fact, the majority of them have said they would work for free in their interviews, right? But it's one of those where like, if we didn't have that team that puts that much effort into every step of everything that they do to get better, to do this, to do that, to take the test, to continue their education, to always be like trying to be better, always going the extra mile, always trying to set themselves apart,
Mhm.
working with each other to like build each other up, to be not just efficient, but like good to great at every category.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we didn't have that, I don't think we'd be able to be doing what we would be doing. Like something would fall. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, 100%. That is why we are able to accomplish all three as well as we do, because typically, you know, if you're having someone provide the level of customer service that we are, and it's not an easy job,
Mm.
is typically you're having to pay people more for that, because
Right.
but the difference, I think the difference maker, the thing that we can offer that just makes this possible. Again, it is impossible without the team that we have and the people
Right.
that we have. But the thing that makes it possible is offering opportunities to move forward and build
Right.
and take
Careers.
in careers. Exactly.
Right.
You can build a career from the ground up here with no experience, no education.
Right.
We will provide those things as you go.
Right. Exactly. We will give you all of the tools that you need if you can bring the like innate character traits.
Or at least a possibility, or the ability to find those tools. Where like
Right.
Ryan's a good example. If he's how much has he learned with social media, photography, like putting podcasting. I don't know any of this stuff. He's had to find the stuff himself.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, it's that. It's like you're saying, it's like the tools are the opportunity to find your tools.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's also, we're willing to, when I say we, but like you're willing to invest in those things. You're willing to invest, like, let's get you a camera, let's get podcast
Right.
equipment, like, let's do these kind of things, like, let's do them correctly. And I think that that's a huge part of it as well. And so that's, we've said it, if we haven't said it on here, I'm sure it'll come out a number of times. Like, our hardest thing that we will ever have to deal with, Triad as a company and Define Nutrition, is continuing to find the people like the people that we have now.
Yep.
Like, it will be harder and harder and harder potentially, to continue. I say that, and every time we get a new person, I fall in love with them. So like,
Yeah.
we keep finding the right people, but it's like, that is a tough deal for us, is like the speed of our growth to finding the right people and having them ready is going to be one of our major challenges for sure.
Yeah, definitely can be. I'm still waiting for this day.
Right. Everybody keeps saying that, but yeah, we keep doing it.
Yeah. As we put a lot of effort into keeping as positive of a culture as we can.
Yeah. And I
So-
think that's a big thing that sets us apart too.
For
And
sure.
I think that like we'd also, we praise, we reward, we try to do the things that like we try to hold up our end of the bargain as well,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But
we in the beginning where it was, our first, handful of employees was like, hey, like you kind of have to just trust me. But like, man, you are one of the first, 5 people kind of in line for this. So it's like,
Right.
man, it's like if it comes true, like you're at top of the list.
right.
So, it's a little easier to get people kind of on board with that. It's like, hey, we're starting ground zero. Where now it's like, hey, we got, 14 people. It's like, you're not exactly like, one of the first people on board.
Right.
But at the same time, we're showing that we're showing proof. We've had people move up, get promoted multiple times and get pay raises and take on jobs that are so much more of what they want to do than their base level position. So we're showing that it is what we're telling you is possible. We've got, it's a bigger group of people that I don't want to use the word competing against, but it is in somewhat of a sense that you are. It's like, but I mean, the more we work as a group, the more possibilities there are. So it's,
Right.
but you're in a bigger group, but there is proof that what we're saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
No, absolutely. Yeah, man, it's. I agree. I'm waiting for the day when it becomes tough, but we seem to, and we've gone through struggles of hiring people and stuff. But it's
I'm
like,
still prepared for it.
we always end up with the right person.
Yep.
Like I know that for sure. We always end up with the right person.
100%.
Pretty much anytime anybody we have on staff was like always a second pick and some third picks. But everybody's like obviously done great. Like I don't have a complaint about our staff, like ever. Like everybody, again, it's the importance of everybody rowing the boat in the same direction. It's everybody working towards a common goal, everybody kind of putting their head down and doing that. And the proof's in the pudding, in the sense of like, you see people like Ryan, you see people who have, whoever you want to use as the example, get to the point that they want to get to by showing, that they can do it, and the opportunity presenting itself, and that opportunity, coming with this, because none of the jobs are easy, and they'll never have an easy job here, like ever.
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. It'll become more of what you want, but it won't necessarily, we can't promise it'll be easy.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's the deal. Like, somebody asked me this the other day, and they were like, do you miss Norman? I'm like, I miss Norman every day. Like, it's like, I love everybody that I see at UConn, but like, Norman was my family for 2 years. Like, these are all people that I miss. And when I go down there, it's great to spend time with them and see them. Like, last time I went to Norman, got to hang out with Brisky and Zeth and all of them and Toby at Coda Norman got to hang out with Travis at Crunch for a while, and it was cool hanging out with him because they were getting ready for their powerlifting competition that they just did. It looked like it was a really cool time. I know we were set up for it, but it was great getting to see him, and he was all decked out in like Triad and Define gear and stuff, and it was super cool. And so getting to hang out with him and kind of talk for a little bit, but it's like these are all people that I've built personal relationships with, you know, and some of them I see more than others, but it's like, of course I miss that. Like, yeah, I'd love to still be at Norman, like maintaining those relationships with these people that I love. And I become like Cass, who's a guy who's been a big supporter of as a chiropractor down in Norman. Like him and I are getting lunch on Saturday. Like I try to do things, like try to see him, but like I miss these people all the time. And so it's one of those where it's not easy all the time doing, but you've got to do what you've got to do in order to like grow the company and be where you're most needed as well. And it's like, oh, well, this is the thing that makes the most sense. And I'd rather be doing that. I'd rather be doing the thing that makes the most sense for me and the company. And
helps the company move forward, helps you move forward.
Right. It comes with sacrifices and stuff too. And I think everybody's got a good grasp of that. And I think that's what's important as they, you know, like explaining that to Will is like, hey man, like, yeah, I do a lot. Like it's not that I'm unhappy. I'm definitely not. I love UConn and I love everybody there, but it's like, you know, I've moved. It's like moving schools. Like you're in a different place, you know, and you're seeing different people and you're making new friends, and that's great. But it's not to say that these things don't come with their bumps and bruises. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but we've got the staff to do it. Yeah. We've got a solid foundation. Dude, that's for sure. If I was betting on anybody, it'd be these people. Yeah. It's I don't have a ton of experience with working with major teams outside of like high school and college jobs, but you know, very solid team at S2. Man, that's funny you even bring up like not everybody was the first pick. I wasn't even the first partner, so hey, don't laugh too much. It was Alfonso was supposed to be the first manager in Norman. That's right. That's right. But yeah, we man, it's really cool to see how well everybody works together. But it's hard to sometimes you lose perspective on it of like how well we work together relative to other teams. Yeah, for sure, man. And just it's our job and everybody in like the leadership positions to maintain that. You know what I mean? Like we have to, that's why back to what we were talking about before of just like maintaining things like it's constant work, healthy competitiveness without like shooting down or like, you know, you don't want one person like talking a bunch of crap on another store or like that kind of like negative attitude is really bad and really unhealthy. And it's like those are the things that have to get squashed really quick, because like even sometimes like playful like crap talking can turn like it can be too much. It can be for sure. You know what I mean? Where it's like, and this isn't like an individual thing, but like maybe a store's proud of something that they did for the first time. And then it's like somebody like, oh, well, you know, and it's like, okay, like we get it, man. But like, we're talking about being excited for the newest location or from some new person, like somebody makes AT and like everybody congratulations, give congratulations to this person getting AT. And it's like, well, I've been around and I've been an AT. It's like, okay, cool, man. But like, we're excited about this. And it's not to say that any of that kind of stuff is happening, but it's like those are the things that we have to watch out for. Like we have to maintain, because culture's it for us. Yeah. Culture's absolutely those are the kind of the pillars that keep us being even possible to hit those categories of being like successful in all three categories of business of, you know, price, customer service, product selection, knowledge is our culture, being able to provide opportunities. Those are, you know, any of those start to break down and we start to lose some of those character, like those defining characters of our business. Right. They're foundational pieces to like the definition of foundation. Like if they crumble, the whole thing can. Right. What time were we at? I think we're about 2 hours.
Yeah, we're past 2 hours.
Past 2 hours. Yeah. We started a little late tonight too. So yeah, I'm ready to wrap up. Yeah. Well, shoot from the hip, Kevin. You wrap it up. No, I'm not good at this. Thanks for listening to episode 13. I'm Thomas. I'm Thomas. Shit. Definitely appreciate everybody listening. It's again, as always, these are fun for us.
So we do them either way.
Yeah.
But if you're tuning in, appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
Whether we're providing any insight or at least getting some yucks from you.
Yeah. And feel free to insult either of us whenever we post reels for this, because except if you are local and you're going to personally attack me, just understand that Laurel will be coming for you. I'm not joking.
Let's pull.
I'll kill him.
I'm gonna pull this clip and we're gonna make a competition. Who can get the most insults in the comments?
Oh, and I want him to be genuine. I want you to like talk about Kevin's dumb ears.
Don't go there.
You don't. Why do you think I wear headphones?
all my actual posts, my photos, like I've actually photoshopped other ears on top of my.
Oh, that's too funny.
All right, yeah. Who can get the most mean comments?
Yeah.
Am I the winner if you get more comments?
No, you want them.
You want the comments.
Yeah, you want bad comments. You want mean comments. I want. Yeah, this will be a good reel. We'll do a collab.
I feel like it should go the other way. The winner is whoever has the least amount of mean comments.
No, but then you want less. I think it's more fun to want more.
You want the other
This
person
is
to have
true.
more.
No, I get that, but like I think it's more fun. But I don't care. We can do whatever.
I'm down for more.
Yeah.
Do we have a scale of like 1, 2, 3? How mean you are?
Yeah, like a really mean one counts for 3 points. Under each comment, we'll rate it 1 through 3.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, Thomas, you chubby dipshit, and I'll be like 1.5.
Yeah, you said the last guy said that.
Yeah, but that's a 1.
Yeah.
But if you call Kevin, I'm not going to give you any ammo. Got some personal things I can go through.
Yeah.
But.
You know, I might lose this one. There's just not much that you can.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I like this. And whoever wins gets a $10,000 gift card to try it. Kevin's going to provide that.
That's okay. Some people are going to think you're serious. We're doing well. UConn's doing well.
We're super serious.
I'm just going to cut the outro before you pass it off to Kevin. Like all this is just getting cut.
Fine. No gift card or anything, but Kevin will kiss you on the lips. All right. Thanks, guys.
He didn't say no.